Hi, I'm Julie from Fabric Garden Quilt Shop. Thank you for joining us for our new sew along, Humble and Heartfelt by Kim Deal. And we are using her new fabric line, Gratitude and Grace, and it is just gorgeous. There are 30 different SKUs in this line, and you will be using all 30 of them, so you will end up with a nice scrappy quilt. And each month you will get this page so that you can, find which fabric it is you're supposed to be using. Please follow along in the instructions because they are very well written. So you can just start from the beginning and make your blocks. The blocks are not made in numerical order. I think that they are made with using different techniques per block. So the first month we're going to be making 4 blocks, which are number 8, 12, 14, and 18. And here they are here, if you can see them. And you're going to be making the center of the quilt. Your instructions will have highlighted which blocks you will be making, and you can see where they will be placed. I do recommend that once you've made one block, you label it, because when it comes to the end and you're wanting to know what block goes where, it will make it a little bit easier and save you a little bit of time. So the first month, I just want to show you some of the tricks that I use. Almost every block in this quilt uses a half square triangle in the corners. The way Kim Deal has you make them, you will cut your fabric, I think it's 3 3/8 inches, and then you cut them on the diagonal, and that way will give you a little bit more scrappy quilt because you will be using a solid in the corner, a solid, and then a cream. There are 4 different creams in this fabric line, 5 different ones, and you will be using all 5 of them. If you want a scrappy quilt, you can put all 5 in your block. If you want it to be a little more controlled, you can just use one color, or you can use just 2 different ones. I like to make my half square triangles rather than cutting on the diagonal and then sewing on the bias. I will cut my square just a skosh bigger. So these are cut 3 1/2 inches instead of 3 3/8. And then what you can do is take your magic wand. I forgot my friction pen, darn it. But you can take your magic wand and just from corner to corner, draw a diagonal line on your lighter fabric, just like that. I don't know if you can see it on the camera because it's not my friction pen. And then you can stitch on this line and stitch on this line, which I have done on this sample here. And this one has the friction pen on it. That disappears with your iron, as you can see right there. And then once that is done, then you can just cut it apart. And you can just do like a 1/4 inch from one of the seam lines and cut down the middle, and you will end up with 2 half square triangles. You're going to press your seams to the dark, and like I have done on this one, and then you can take a tucker trimmer. These are going to be trimmed to 3 inches, so you line up your diagonal line there, and you're going to cut this side, and it's a little easier if it's like that. And well, if I had a better blade in there, it would cut better. And then you're just going to flip it around, and you can cut these 2 sides, and I'm not going to do it because I don't want to cut myself. And then when you do that, you will end up, oh, I thought I had it made, but I don't. But you will end up with a perfect 3-inch triangle, okay? And with no bias. But you do end up with 2 that are the same, and I have just put mine in opposite corners. So these 2 are the same fabrics in opposite corners. So those are your half square triangles. The other thing you're going to be making almost every month, and I do think it is every month, are flying geese. So each block will have flying geese around the outside. Sometimes the dark fabric is here and sometimes the dark fabric is up here. So I will show you how to do the flying geese. There is the wing clipper ruler. If you choose to do that, you won't be able to be scrappy, and you might have to cut your fabric a little bit too big. I wanted my geese to be scrappy, so I made them according to the pattern directions, which is cutting, and don't be confused because this is not the fabric you're using this month. I've been sewing ahead, so this is, I think, month 3 or 4. So you're going to cut your rectangle 3 by 5.5 inches, and then you're going to cut a 3-inch square, which will go in the corner. You're going to put that down here. Now, okay, I'm going to show you a little trick that I have. My friend Karen told me about this a long time ago. Sewing from corner to corner, again with your friction pen, you just draw a diagonal line. From that diagonal line, if you go in a 1/2 inch and draw another line, you're going to end up with a bunch of half square triangles left over, like this, which you can use to make another project, which hopefully by the end of the 6 months, I'll come up with something for you to do with that. But so you're going to sew on each line here and here, and once you've ironed it, you want to iron this up like this, and you want to make, flip it over and make sure that your corners are square before you do any cutting. If they're off just a tad, you'll be okay, but if they're off a lot, you might want to redo it. Then you can cut on this, like we did with the half square triangles. You can just cut on the, between them there. I like to cut from this side so that lays flat. And cut it apart like that. And then, like I said, you're going to end up with this half square triangle like this. You can press it. And what I have done with these, here's another one that I have already cut. I mean, I've already trimmed. I trim it with my Tucker trimmer just to 2 inches. I think there's probably enough fabric to trim it to 2 1/4 if you want, but I like round numbers, so I think it'll be easier that way. And just as an example, I know this is a little segue, sorry, over here. This is a pillow that I have made from another project that had leftover half square triangles. So, that's too much fabric to throw away. You can make a pillow, you can make a baby blanket, you can make a pin cushion. There's all kinds of things you can do, so I'll come up with something for you. So once you have done that, you're going to put your other corner on just like that, and you're gonna and I will sew from here rather than here. You don't want your corner to be caught up in the hole of your throat plate. So from here to here, you cut it apart, and you're going to end up with a nice flying goose. Let's see, one other thing for this month. So here are the 2 blocks you're going to be making. This is block number 14, and this is block number 12. So the centers are the same, the fabric is different, and I think you've already seen we've got block number 8 and block number 18. Those centers are the same. Those are pretty easy to make. You've got, here it is. You're going to have your center square. Your center square is cut 3 inches, and you're going to do the little corners, kind of like you did on the flying geese. You're going to draw a line, sew from corner to corner, flip it up. You're going to press it, and again, I like to flip it over and make sure that this is square. If this, for whatever reason, does not come out perfectly square, again, if it's just off a tad bit, you can still use it. But instead of cutting this way, cutting the whole thing off, just cut out the center, cut out the tongue. And then when you flip this up, you won't see that part. When you flip this up, if it's you know, kind of just like that, you're still, the black fabric is your perfect square. So that that way your square in the center will come out well. And I'm going to show you on this one here. Here's two squares that I was not happy with how they looked, so I only cut out the center. This one over here, when I flipped it up, it was perfect, so I cut out the whole thing. So then the last thing that you're going to be doing is the hourglass blocks that are in this here. Again, you're going to take your square, cut it to the size she said. You can actually cut it about 1/8 of an inch bigger if you want to be, if you're afraid you're not going to be that accurate. So you cut your squares, you've got your cream, and again you can oh, here, I'm looking at this one here. So you've got the one color, you've got two colors, sorry. So you're going to cut your square on the diagonal twice, so you will end up with 4 triangles. And I do lay these out before I do any sewing. I'm going to lay these out right next to my sewing machine, just like that, so I know what is what, because you want the opposite corners. You're going to flip this over like this, and you're going to stitch, flip this one, and you're going to stitch. And you will end up, and press them to the dark. You will end up with 2 triangles like that, and then when you put them together, you're going to butt those. I think in the directions, Kim Deal suggests pressing them open. If you choose to press them open, that is fine. I prefer to press to the dark, if at all possible. And so on this one, I do press to the dark. That way you can butt up your seams nicely and stitch your 1/4 inch seam. And then when they are done, you're gonna end up with a seam that looks like this. And when you open it up, you can just kind of pop those stitches there and press one to one side and press one to the other side, and you end up with a little 4 patch in the center. And then you're going to trim that to the size that's needed. I've got a little sample here. Don't be confused about this either, because these are not the correct size, but I just wanted to show you. When you lay them out, follow the pattern. You're going to lay them out so that the colors are opposite, like that. You're going to fold them up, you're going to fold them up, you're going to stitch and stitch, and then when you open them up, you're going to stitch along here. This is one time that I did press the seam open, and you can see here, that was just a lot of bulk to press to one side, and I do think it does lay flatter if you press the seams open on that one. And that is it. You've got 4 blocks made for the first month. You will be making 4 blocks each month. I think one month you make 5, but the last month you only have to make 2 because you're doing the borders as well. But anyway, that's it. If you have any questions, feel free to give the shop a call, or you can come in any day. Anybody that's here can help you with any questions you might have. Thank you. We're looking forward to it.